The views and opinions expressed by the participants on this show are not necessarily those of Stewart Information Services Corporation, Stewart Title, or Stewart Insurance. Before you make any investment, you should seek the advice of your investment advisor or attorney.
Whether you're a real estate broker, realtor, homeowner, buyer, or seller, everything matters when it comes to real estate. This is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. Stewart Title's Bill Knapik and guests open the door to what really matters in owning, buying, and selling real estate. And now, Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title, brought to you by Stewart Insurance. Here to inform, entertain, and inspire, Bill Knapik.
Welcome to the show. It is Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title. I'm your host, Bill Knapik, and this is show number 556. We appreciate you listening so much. Yes, you can hear this show and go to the show archive simply by going to stewart.com/radio. Anytime you want, you could see the show. You can hear it by going to stewart.com/radio. As always, we have a super show. So many great things, so many great guests. Let's get started right now. Let's talk to Amy Mason and Alex Wellbrock. They are with the Greater Tomball Area Chamber of Commerce. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. We're happy we're here.
Well, we are so excited because Tomball is such an important part of the Greater Houston area. So everybody wants to know about Tomball. So first of all, Amy, let's tell people about the chamber.
The chamber. So we were incorporated in 1965. So we are celebrating 60 years this year. However, we do have evidence that that a couple of businessmen in the 1920s actually started the chamber, even though we can't find that documentation anymore, so we have to go with 1965. And we serve an 8 to 10 mile radius of Tomball, going from like FM 2920 to FM 2920 and the Tomball Tollway, 10-mile radius. And we don't necessarily have boundaries, but that is our service area. And we are here to be a voice and a resource for our business community and our community at large.
And Amy, let's tell people your role with the Chamber of Tomball.
Yes, I am the Director of Communications, been there 8 years.
And Alex Wellbrock, what is your role at the Chamber?
My role, I am the Membership Development Director, so I handle all of our prospects, anyone who's looking for information to join the Chamber. I am your go-to person for that.
And to say the Tomball area is growing is kind of an understatement.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a little. So let's tell people, in case they may be right here in Houston, and I think there are many people that Tomball live right here in Houston. Tomball's like, I don't know what's going on out there. It's far away. And we have people listening that are around the United States that are, what's Tomball, Texas? Yes. So one of you paint a picture of what Tomball is in terms of how it looks, and what are the drawing things that bring people to Tomball?
The drawing things, definitely, I would say, are the community and the people. If you've never been to Tomball, I mean, we're kind of known as hometown with a heart. So we're a very friendly place, very welcoming. And that also kind of transcends into us as a Chamber of Commerce. But it's also not super far from the city. So if you want just kind of a small town, quaint-ish feel, again, with great community and great people. But if you also want to come down to the city, check out an Astros game, unless you hit traffic, it's not that really bad of a drive. So,
and we're 30 miles northwest of Houston, and so we're just at the edge of Harris County and Montgomery County. And like Alex said, just big community. We have a lot of festivals. The city does festivals. The chamber does events. And then we also have another organization that runs a really big festival twice a year.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong at any point, but it's also one of the areas that people go or are going to, not just from Houston, but even out of state, if they want a little bit of elbow room,
yes.
An acre or two. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Tomball's getting a little full. I mean, if there's still, of course, places. They do exist. But as y'all know, in real estate, those places are kind of a dime a dozen in Tomball. But there's definitely surrounding areas where you are able to do that and find places like that.
And we do have that family land that is starting to sell off.
Yep.
So, and then as far as businesses that are coming or already maybe new ones that are there in Tomball, what are the attractions for the businesses? Because also, as there have been a lot of residential sales and things,
yes.
well, there's a lot of commercial activity as well.
Yes. So our Tomball Economic Development Corporation is an amazing asset for our community. It gives business incentives to businesses coming into Tomball proper. And so if people need a little bit of a facelift, or if they're coming into town, they can find property through them, and they work hand in hand with those business owners to talk about what they want to do and how they want to succeed in Tomball. And then we work really closely with the EDC, and they will say, hey, these people are coming in, they want to talk chamber stuff. So we send them to Alex over here.
And, we're talking chamber stuff right now.
Yeah.
And I've never had so much fun in my life.
You're welcome.
Good.
Indeed. So let's go back to the beginning of the year. We're well into, we really have traction right now. But in the very beginning of the year, when you looked at your plans for the chamber, or maybe you were starting to do that in October, I don't know, what were some of the things that you projected or anticipated for, here we are in 2025, that might have been a little different than the previous year?
One of our really big milestones that we just hit. So we are a 5-star accredited chamber. We do get our accreditation from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and there's actually less than 200 chambers in all of Texas that are accredited. Doesn't say that other chambers that aren't accredited are bad. It's a very
I like
long
the accredited
process.
ones better.
I mean, we're vetted. We know kind of what we're doing and everything for the most part.
I'm going to make it a bigger brag.
Go ahead.
There's 7,000 chambers in the United States, and only 200 of them in the United States are even accredited.
Okay, let's repeat that.
Yes, 7,000 chambers in the United States, only 200 of them are even accredited, and we are one of those, and we are the top-notch 5-star. So we're the top 2%.
Wow.
So she fixed my
That's
That's what we do. Hey, that's what
out
we
of
do.
7,000.
right
There's only 200, and there you are out of this whole United States.
in tiny Tomball.
And I will tell you, Texas is leading the way.
Yes,
there's a lot of chambers around here that are 5-star accredited.
Yeah.
It's
We take
amazing.
pride in what we do.
Well, what do you attribute that to? What's happening here that's drawing people to Tomball and making the chamber so notable?
Texas is business friendly, so that helps. Tomball is business friendly. And then just that family feeling, that's what we have going. That is just our,
Yeah,
feather
we're
in
just
our
a
cap.
welcoming group. So
And we like to have fun.
You like to have fun. And,
Yeah.
I
But we
think
work hard.
I think what's happening right now, as people listening, I don't know, but I'm going to guess that they're all thinking about, let's go take a drive to Tomball
Heck
in
yeah.
case they
Why
haven't
not?
been for a while.
It's
They
just
wanna
a smile's drive away.
a smile's drive away, not that far from Houston. So a lot of great things. Of course, we have a Stewart title there.
Yes,
we do.
Been a real strong part of the community,
Yes.
and we're always busy there helping people find their.
And they
putting
are a
in with
large
them.
investor in our Chamber of Commerce, so they have been a steadfast supporter ever since I've been there. So I don't know how long that's actually been, but
It's awesome.
Yes.
So what are some of the other things that you're thinking about in 2025 here as chamber pillars?
legislative priorities. So it is Texas, the Senate and Congress are in session. And so we go up to Austin and we talk with our elected officials and say, these are the priorities for Tomball. And so water infrastructure, workforce development, and fully funding public schools. However the voucher, issue lands, fully fund our public schools.
So then to add to that a little bit, we do the ribbon cuttings, we do the networking stuff, and all of that is great and fun, but we do a lot of that advocacy work as well. And that's kind of a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as chambers that a lot of people don't see. So
If we got something going on with our roads and transportation, Bruce has been known to come down and be in commissioner's court. So, and saying, hey, this does not work for our area.
yeah, or even, we'll take the Tomball Expressway or Aggie Expressway, as some say.
Yeah, in this room they would say that. Yeah.
Oh my.
That was taken off of TxDOT's road for a couple
Off
of
their
years.
30-year plan.
Yeah, and they had taken it off, and the chamber, we kind of came together, got that put back on their plan with us and actually Navasota, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that project ended up getting completed. So, again, it's kind of just one of our little things that a lot of people don't know.
I'm kind of stuck on the ribbon cutting. So
Yeah.
you all have those big giant
Yes,
scissors.
We do.
Where do you keep them?
In a closet.
In a closet.
They're under
Yes.
lock and key, and then you bring them right at the right moment.
Yep.
Yes.
We run with them.
Sometimes
cracking
they're in the
myself
back of
up.
my seat.
Yep.
I love those scissors.
Yes.
Next time you have a ribbon cutting, call me because I want to be
We've
there.
got one Wednesday.
As you're in the center for people that want to know about Tomball, I'm imagining the chamber and some of the other chambers around the country, people probably call you. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
How often do you get calls from other states where they want to know about Tomball?
More than you think. And sometimes they just pick something on the map and they call. Yeah.
And they say, okay,
And
let's find out Tomball.
This is one of our think out of the box ways is they call, we get to talking to them. We're like, give us your address. And we send them maps, our publications, just everything about Tomball and say, when you come visit, come see us.
So if you have someone from another state, let's just say Indiana or Missouri, for whatever reason, I'm thinking of that, they call, what are some of the things that a business that might want to open up ask you? What are the things they ask you? Or maybe even you have some people that residential that want to know about
A lot of times they ask about population, what that looks like, the makeup of it, whether that's age ranges, medium ranges, things like that. And also just what other type of community businesses are around, whether it makes sense for them to have their own business in Tomball or around the Tomball area. At least that's as far as I know.
Yep.
We're talking with Amy Mason and Alex Wellbrook. They are with the Tomball Chamber of Commerce and also your medical community.
Yes.
And I want to say my friend Dr. Brian Harkins is a big pillar right there. The Tomball Hospital is top-notch, as is Dr. Brian Harkins.
So HCA Houston Healthcare Tomball, yep, they are a chamber trustee. They are a big supporter. And actually, the CEO is our chairman of the board this year.
How about that?
So he is working, hand in hand with us to make Tomball an even more thriving community. Oh, come out to Tomball. Give it a chance. People think it's like a one-horse town, which is so odd because we do have the medical. We have a medical corridor. We have oil and gas. We have mom and pop shops, so antiques, so many great restaurants. Check out the festivals. You can always check that out, tomballchamber.org. You will find all of our events and information and resources for you to come enjoy Tomball.
And before we started recording, I referenced a historical fact. In 1933, May 27, Humble Oil Company started there, and it was known as Oil Town, USA.
Yes.
Little Tomball, right?
Little Tomball. We were in Ripley's, believe it or not.
I believe it. Alex, what else should we know?
I was going to say, yes, of course, Tomball is great. But I know that, this is a real estate podcast and not everybody's in Tomball, which is fine. But I would recommend reaching out, looking into joining your local Chamber of Commerce. There's definitely a ton in the Houston area, in Texas in general. So find one that's near you. Visit a couple. Everyone's a little bit different. As a Chamber of Commerce, we always say if you know one chamber, you only know one chamber. So definitely check them out. Get involved. It's a good way to know different people in different industries and also get just situated and know everyone in your community.
And I'm going to be starting my new show called Chamber Talk. That's going to be coming up next year. In the meantime,
And we're going to be
Amy,
your first
We'll be
guest.
your host.
We're going to be your first guest.
I'm
we
gonna
will be hosts.
only credited chambers, though. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Let's tell people how they can learn more. Amy.
281-351-7222 or visit our website at tomballchamber.org. We also have our Facebook page and our Instagram and LinkedIn.
And Alex, if someone wants to reach you,
You can also, same number, call the office at 281-351-7222. You can also send me over an email, awellbrock@tomballchamber.org.
sounds good to me. Thanks for being with us,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Absolutely.
As we continue, let's talk to Genevieve Rowland. She is with Keller Williams. Genevieve, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Bill. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. And let's tell people, everybody hears about Keller Williams. Let's tell people about your Keller Williams office.
Well, my Keller Williams office, I've been there for 12 years. Keller Williams Memorial has an amazing broker, Michael Bozart, an amazing team, lots of coaches, compliance, legal, anything that you need is there.
And they do such a great job with training as well.
They do. Keller Williams is the #1 training company in the world. And I remember when I started with them back in 2013, interesting fact, it said they were #2 in the world behind Jiffy Lube. I had no idea that Jiffy Lube was such a trainer. Then 2 years
had no
later, they
idea.
passed them up. Yeah,
Well,
it's just a crazy fact.
It's oil town.
Oil is
And there's-
oil, yeah.
makes me-
And I recently was diagnosed by my daughter, but then it turned out to be true a couple of years ago with ADHD. So it's hard for me to stay in one place at a time. After about 3 years, I get bored. I've been with Keller Williams Memorial for 12 years. I've never been anywhere that long. Last company was 7 years and then 4 or 5 years.
Well, you are never boring at Keller Williams.
Never boring. It's changing. We have a great group of people.
That says a lot. Well, let's tell people, as far as where your activities have been lately, because as a licensed Texas realtor, you can be anywhere in Texas.
Yes.
But let's just take the last 20 transactions geographically. Where have you been helping buyers and sellers?
Well, I'm a third-generation Houstonian. I used to have half the state of Texas back in my sales days. However, I have transitioned. What I love about real estate, no two transactions are the same, and there are so many different venues to pursue. And last year, with the market being a little slower for some, I would say half my business is your traditional buying and selling. And then the other half, I focus on investing. And I've moved a lot towards investing over the last few years, helping a lot of my clients, as well as somebody just trying to make a little extra money, or some people that's their living. And I have a lot of investment properties myself.
And when we talk about investing, what are we saying there? Because I think a lot of people, especially now in Wall Street Journal today, the article was people are looking for places to put money other than the stock market, let's say. And one of the things I think about every now and then is investing in real estate.
Well, for the most part, it's a very good deal. Like they say, you can't make any more land. Although I say, unless you're in Dubai, they'll pump stuff up from the seafloor. Aside from that, they're not making any more land. We have more people moving to Texas. And traditionally, if you look at those that are in the higher tiers, real estate is part of their portfolio. And when you have, if you track the stock market or your 401ks, it all depends on your barometer and what you feel comfortable with. But you get on average about a 7% return year over year over a 10-year period of time. But with real estate, you could have a 20% appreciation, or you could get a house. It all depends on what your game plan is. Some people want to put their money in something and let it appreciate and take the tax advantages. Depreciation is one of your best friends. You can write off a portion of your home where you work. There are lots of things that you can do to offset your tax basis. But then some people are in it because that's their full-time job. They're renovating houses. They're reselling them to people that don't have that ability. And I don't like to use the word flip. To me, flip is a 4-letter word. There are a lot of flippers out there, and I try to stay away from those people. But you want to renovate. You want to do something responsibly. Some people, that's their job, and that's where they make their money year-round. And then other people, maybe they're looking at it from a cash flow perspective. They want some additional cash flow with something that can appreciate, and then they may sell it over time, or they may want to pass it on to their kids, because you can have a piece of property, sell that property, make a large sum of money, and do what's called a 1031 exchange. It's a tax code. Buy some additional property at or above that price, and you can just keep pushing off the taxes, if you will, that you would have to pay. And then when your beneficiaries inherit that, they inherit it at the current level of the market price and go from there. So they're all different types of strategies. Everybody's in it for a different reason, and you just have to see what their goals are and go from there.
There's no shortage of opportunity anywhere in real estate, but certainly here in Houston, Texas.
That's correct. If you look at the statistics, overall, around 65% of the homes in the United States are owner-occupied. That means about 35% of them are owned by investors for one reason or another. And in Texas, it's about the same. It's 63%. We do have a few more owner-occupied homes in Texas than others. So,
and of course, you're helping people that just want to buy a home, sell a home.
Yes.
That's part of your business as well. As far as that goes, how's the market right now, let's say in the Memorial area, for activity?
Well, in the Memorial area, Memorial has traditionally, since the 50s and 60s, if you're south of I-10, north of Westheimer, from the loop out to Highway 6, has always been a desirable area. I grew up, my grandmother had a house they bought it for about $50,000 back in 1957 at Memorial in Pine Haven, which was just outside the loop. all the post oak townhomes weren't there. My dad would break in his horses. There was his stable there. And when they sold their property, just to give you an example, they sold their property in the late 80s for almost $500,000. That lot, even without the house on it, by itself, that lot's worth about, it's an acre lot, it's worth about $1.5 million. If it weren't on Memorial, if a few houses back, it would be a little bit more, but it's worth about $1.5 million. And so the Memorial area is very desirable, and in Memorial Energy Corridor, as a matter of fact, I put a house, while we were talking, I put a house on the market an hour before I got here. And in the last 30 minutes, I've had 2 showings requested. So,
and by the end of the show, it's probably you'll have an offer.
I'm hoping so. But one of the things that they did to segue into condition of houses, because currently we have about a 6-month inventory, and that's a regular market. That's a stable market. We had 10 years of crazy sellers markets that a lot of people thought that was normal, and it's not. Houses on average will be on the market about 6 weeks now. And a stable market is a market that's neither moves towards the sellers or towards the buyers. So 4 to 6 months of inventory is a stable market. And when it's kind of a beauty contest when it comes to a house. Your houses that need a lot of work, that's where all your wholesalers and your investors, they're going to be like sharks circling around. They're going to try to get it as inexpensively as possible. But what I try to help my clients do, whether they're the traditional buyer or seller or whether they're an investor, is I look and say, where can we spend the least amount of money to get the most amount of return? And then with this particular property I was talking about, they redid everything. And they listened to some of my choices. I like to help design and stage. And when your house looks good or you have something that's a little bit better than everyone else, that's where you're going to get your multiple offers. And you're going to have people all wanting to vie for that house.
Sounds good to me. So right now, if someone's interested in purchasing a home in the Memorial, again, we're talking about the Memorial area, how do you coach that buyer right now? And what's the price point? Not the highest, not the lowest, but what's a good average price point in the area that you laid out there, south of I-10, north of Westheimer?
Well, it all depends if you're inside the loop or inside the Beltway or outside of the Beltway. Are you in 7702442?
Let's say I'm inside. We want to be inside the Beltway.
So if you're inside the Beltway, prices will jump quite a bit than just outside of the Beltway. And then it depends on if you're in the villages or not. So if you're in the villages, again, depending upon the village, but let's say if you're in the villages, an average lot size in Bunker Hill, for example, is going to be about 21,000 square feet. So again, it depends on the shape of the lot as well. However, if you're wanting, let's say if you're wanting a tear down and you want to renovate, you can get a house. You could get maybe a 2,500 to 2,900 square foot house. Again, this all depends on condition.
All depends.
Yeah, all depends. I'll put in that disclaimer. Around 1.2 million. And then again, depending upon your taste or what you want to do, you could put in 400,000 or 500,000. You could put in 700,000 or so renovating that house if you don't have the ability to afford one of the new ones, because a lot of people don't have $4 or $5 million to buy a new build. However, they can spend 1.2 and then spend about 700,000 and have a really nice house at about half the price. Houston is still a great market. People think, oh my gosh, the inventory is crazy and all of that. But Houston is a wonderful market. Houston and the surrounding. As a matter of fact, the people from Tomball, I have someone, a past client, he's moving back from Dubai. Just fun fact. And I was telling him about Tomball, but Houston, Tomball, the surrounding areas, we have wonderful schools. You've got the largest medical complex in the world. You have the largest port in the world. You've got a lot of manufacturing. There is something for everyone. It's not necessarily just oil. Lots of education. And again, with Houston, it's easy to get all over the all over the state of Texas, all over the world with both airports. Anywhere you want to be, Houston's a great place to live.
So many economic drivers. Genevieve, let's tell people how they can reach you.
Well, they can reach me. I love phone or text 281-904-7014, or they can send me an email. My short address is Jen, Gen, at Rowpro, ROWPRO.com. Or unless they want to spell it all out, Genevieve at Roland-Properties. But I help people buy, sell, invest, and do some farm and ranch. 281-904-7014.
Thanks for being with us, Genevieve.
Thank you, Bill. You have a great day.
As we continue, let's talk to Kelly Henderson. She is with EXP Realty. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, here you are. It's been years,
It
but
has.
welcome back.
Thank you.
EXP. First of all, Kelly, let's tell people about your company.
So EXP is a virtual brokerage. We don't have brick and mortars, traditional brick and mortars, say like a Keller Williams would. Very similar business models, the whole 9 yards, but we do everything virtually. So I don't have an actual office I go to. I get to office out of the house, but we are one of the largest brokerages in the United States.
And give people an idea as far as geographically. You go all over too. But here recently, let's say again, the last few transactions, 20 or so, where have you been helping your buyers and sellers?
I run, literally my corridor is, I live here in the Galleria. I go Galleria all the way out west. I do Spring Valley, Katy. Those have been my 2 latest transactions. I go anywhere and everywhere my clients need me to go.
Anywhere and everywhere. And you
Yes.
have a lot of experience here in the real estate world.
I do. Yes. Lots.
Another part of your business we'll touch upon now and then go back to the market conditions, but coaching.
Yes.
One of the things you've done through the years, I hear, is you're doing a lot of coaching, not just with people in your own brokerage, but all over the place. Let's tell people about that.
Yeah. So I got into productivity coaching when I was with Keller Williams Memorial previously. It's always been kind of my thing. The one thing that agents or new agents or people that are thinking of getting their license don't know is this is a sink or swim business.
Well,
If you don't get that training, you will sink very fast. The statistics in Houston alone, we have over 50 to 65,000 realtors just in Houston.
all right, let's stop there. Say that again, because a lot of people in other cities that listen, they're like, how many?
Yeah, 50 to 65,000 realtors just in the city of Houston alone.
It's a
And
lot.
of those realtors, probably only about 10% are producing agents. So 90% are not, and 10% are. Those 10%ers get training, they get coaching, they get support to ensure that they're not going to be one of those agents that lands in the 90%. So that's what I do. I help agents.
And so for the realtor that's listening and says, I don't need any coaching, I could just watch all those real estate TV shows because they make it look easy.
Right? No.
not quite,
No.
right?
If you get your license, they will not come. This is not Field of Dreams.
Field of you wish.
Right? I think that's a big misconception. When people get their license, they think, I'm going to get my license and everybody will use me.
Exactly. I'm going to
And-
sell $10 million
Right?
homes.
If it was
It's gonna
that
be
easy. Yeah. Nope, not that easy. So the importance of coaching and training and support is vital to succeed in this business.
Well, let's keep talking about coaching. So, for example, one of the basic, let's say you have a real estate professional out there that's not brand new, 2 years into the business, a year into the business, they know the base, they know the classes and all those things. But what are some of the first, if someone in that scenario came to you and wanted to start a coaching series, what's the first part of the lesson? What's the first lesson?
First and foremost, if somebody's been in the business for a year or two and they're struggling and they're just not, going anywhere, I look at their business as a whole. What are you doing to market yourself? What does your social media look like? How many transactions did you do last year? And what do you do on a daily basis to generate leads and to generate business? As, a realtor, I have to hustle every day. I think, again, I go back to the misconceptions of people get into this business thinking, oh, it's so easy. It's not. I've been in the business for 21 years. I hustle. I still hustle for leads and generate and all that good stuff. So I would look at somebody's business as a whole and then fill in those gaps and guide them accordingly, what they need to be doing to generate business every day.
Easy is not part of the equation.
Nope. You got to work. Yeah, you do. You have to work at the job.
But it's interesting that even after so many years, their basics must be done. Just like if you were a pilot, an international pilot, there are systems and procedures that must be done every time you are in the plane, carrying all those lives forward.
Yeah.
And in real estate, it's no different.
It's exactly the same. I tell agents all the time, you are your own business. You're not a realtor. You're now a small business owner. What do you do every day to keep those doors open?
What is the hardest part everybody's different, I know, but for what thing do you coach people the most often on that they struggle with? Is there one or two subjects?
It's probably how do I lead generate? How do I generate leads? And it's different for everybody. Like some people love to door knock, not my thing. Some people like to cold call, not my thing. Social media, there's all kinds of different avenues. And I don't think, there's no one set system in real estate. It's not one size fits all. I try to lean in and tap into what they know to help them push their business forward every day.
It has to constantly be done, though. You have to always, like a farmer, you have to be planting the seeds, and there's all sorts of conditions that happen when you plant them. You might have to do it more, all these different things.
You need to have business in your pipeline consistently in order to make it.
And some people I've talked to where they go, it's referrals. Well, I'm sure that's part of it, but even massive corporations continue to advertise after they're already on the top.
Right.
Look at Super Bowl ads and things like that. These are companies, many of them, that have been around sometimes over 100 years.
Well, it's a funny phenomenon because I grew up here in Houston. I went to school here. I have a huge sphere of influence. But even someone like myself can tap out on their sphere of influence. So you have to constantly build your sphere bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's where I think a lot of people struggle. And yes, referrals are great. And my business is built on referrals. However, I still have to continuously generate new business and create new spheres.
So you're always thinking and planning.
Absolutely.
Should we talk about the equestrian world at all, Kelly?
Yes, we could talk about the equestrian
That leads
world.
right into it, doesn't it?
Of course.
Notice how I
Perfect
did that.
segue. It leads right into it.
And I say that because, and for our listeners that are outside of Texas, they all think we have horses. Well, actually, you do, and you have
do.
3 of them, and
Yes.
one on the way. Or
Yes, I do.
It's funny how there's something about animals, but especially horses and dogs, I think, that capture people and we connect to them. But you love horses.
I do.
Tell us a bit about that.
I started riding when I was 7 years old. I captured my first world championship title when I was 13. Very proud of that. I worked very hard to do that. And I have been, continuously riding. I love having and being in a sport that pushes you because you have to get uncomfortable to progress. And that this sport gets you uncomfortable. You're sitting on a 1,200-pound animal that has a mind of its own, and you have to trust and learn. And so, yes, it's part of,
it's almost like you adjust to the real, as each transaction is like a fingerprint. It's all different, but you adjust to it so that as the rider, when you're on a horse and each person has a different personality, you've ridden another horse, but now you're on this new horse. So somehow instantly, just like the transaction, you have to jump and figure the temperament of the animal. And then how does that work? Tell us about that.
It's exactly what you're saying. Every client that I deal with, they're all different personalities. I have to adjust my way of thinking, way of communicating with my clients when I get on one horse versus another horse. It's the same thing.
Some are stubborn.
Some are nice, some are calm, some are not, and you have to adjust. So it plays very well and balances out from work to play life.
So, and the horses are like dogs. I'm guessing they like treats.
They love treats.
So do real estate clients.
Yes.
So somewhere every once in a while you pull out a carrot
right?
to your buyer.
Exactly.
Maybe not.
Yes, I dangle that carrot, right? Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
Hey, we're on to something, Kelly.
I know.
So, how's the market now?
It's good. It's good. I've just been, wheeling and dealing. I've got 2 under contract, and it's people ask me, I think November, December tends to slow down a little bit, but come January 1st, boom, we're going. And I love being in Houston. It's a great, diverse market.
How do you mix all the things you're doing, or how do you assign time? I don't want to use the word balance, but how do you think about coaching, your love of in the equestrian world, helping buyers and sellers. How do you allocate your time, or how do you figure it out?
I can't really allocate. It's kind of what happens day by day. I have several coaching clients that, need they have my time in my calendar. I try to use Wednesdays as riding day to go out to the barn to ride. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. You just find the balance. You have to, but you have to have the balance. You can't be work. You've got to have that work-life balance.
Are you helping people in the real estate community from outside of Texas?
I am. I have a couple. Yes, I do. And it's interesting. Obviously, I have a coaching client in New York and one in Arizona. And while I don't know their contracts, coaching is coaching is coaching. And real estate is, the way you approach real estate and the way you're successful in real estate is all about the same.
We're talking with Kelly Henderson with eXp Realty. Kelly, before we close this segment, what else do you want people to know?
Well, I want them to know that, real estate's been a really, really wonderful business for me for the past 21 years. And it can be for anybody that's looking to career change. But be, aware of what you're walking into, and hire a coach like myself to help you actually, wade through that business that is real estate when you first get in, because you don't know. If you're going to get into this business, you need training. Bottom line.
So you're coaching people here in Houston, outside of Houston.
In Texas.
And of course, you're helping buyers and sellers
Absolutely.
right here.
Yeah, I feel it's important for me as a realtor to be in the trenches with my agents so that I understand the market and what's happening, so I can fully give them what they need. And
in any of these cases, if someone wants to reach out to you, Kelly Henderson, what should they do? Best way to get me is phone or text, doesn't matter, 713-724-3554. Or you can reach me at Kelly at kellyhendersonrealestate.com, 713-724-3554. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you. Real Estate Matters with Stewart Title would not be possible without our partner, Stewart Insurance, with a focus in real estate and a special focus on real estate brokers. Stewart Insurance creates insurance plans to address the risks facing our industry today. They invest a significant amount of time helping real estate broker owners offset and manage their risks. Here he is with Stewart Insurance, once again, John Bramlett. John, welcome to the show.
Bill, always a pleasure.
Well, here we are. What a great show so far.
It's been fantastic.
And so many Texas A&M graduates are here to just bring things to life.
It'll be one of the larger listened to shows we've ever had.
No doubt about it.
The audience will be significantly higher.
No doubt. And in the meantime, people always love the insurance segment. So what have you brought for us today?
I have two numbers for us today, 63 and 4.
63 and 4. This almost sounds like a Karnak.
That or maybe a takeoff on a Chicago song.
Yeah, right.
But and those two numbers are for our listeners that have flood insurance. 63 and 4. 63 and 4. So 63, we're 63 days away from hurricane season starting. So June 1st, hurricane season starts. So 63 days from hurricane season. And four things to think about your flood coverage prior to the season starting.
So that's great. 4 things we could, and I thought you were going to say there's now the 4 sides of water.
No.
I'm glad.
Not yet.
Not yet. There could be, but 4 things to keep it simple for people to think about as we approach this time.
So the first one is, do you have enough coverage? So about 70% of the folks that have flood insurance have it through the National Flood Insurance Program, and it's a great product, and it's a great service that the federal government offers. But there's some things to keep in mind. Their liability limits on their structure is up to $250,000, and their liability limit on the personal property is up to $100,000. So if you have a home that's valued greater than that or significantly higher than that, the structure, or if you've got personal property that's valued greater than $100,000, maybe we need to take a look at some different types of coverage. As I said, about 70% of the folks have National Flood Insurance Program, but there are options through private firms. So that's something else to keep in mind to consider. The other part of that, do I have enough coverage, is what is it going to cost to repair or replace the home? And again, if we had a home that's a $800,000 home, $250,000 on the structure and $100,000 on the personal property may not be enough. So that's where that option of considering private coverage might come into play. And then, do you have other structures beyond the home and in your garage on your property? And if you do, and you would like to have them covered, they would need to have their own separate flood coverage. So again, the question would be, do I have enough coverage? And I guess one last point in that area is if you have a lot of valuables or collectibles, antiques, furs, things like that, the National Flood Insurance Program, their aggregate coverage is only up to $2,500. So again, that could be something that would be a concern. So the first question is, do I have enough coverage? The second question, or what are my potential out-of-pocket costs? So it's always important to understand what the premium is, the cost of the insurance. If that's a concern, we can work with you on that from a deductible perspective, how much we pay as an individual before the insurance company kicks in or the insurance kicks in. So we can increase that deductible, but by doing so, that puts more of the responsibility on the insured, the consumer. So understanding those two, that's important. And then what happens if you have loss of use? So if the damage is such that you had to move out of your home, coverage from the National Flood Insurance Program is not going to help you offset the cost of temporary housing. Where with some private companies, we can get that loss of use coverage so it can help offset the temporary housing costs. So it's important to understand, what are your potential out-of-pocket costs? Has your area changed? Have you done some landscaping on your home that might change how the water flow patterns are? Have you added buildings or a pool? Is that going to change the water flow patterns? What about your neighborhood? Has there been additional construction? Have there been fields and all that are no longer there because of neighborhoods or because of commercial property? That could change how the water flows are. Just the normal change in weather patterns. Has the change in weather patterns in your area affected water flow? Has it affected flooding? If so, maybe you need to evaluate your coverage there. So it's just important to understand your geography and things that might have changed. And then the last one is sometimes folks will have lower coverage because they're in a lower risk area. So they're, while we're all in flood zones, we're just in some zones are designated less likely to flood or designated more likely to flood. But what we see consistently with the National Flood Insurance Program is 25% of the claims they receive come from zones that are more or less likely to flood. So just because you're in a zone that's less likely to flood does not mean you will not flood. 30% of the homes that flooded during Hurricane Harvey were zones that were less likely to flood or areas that had never flooded before. So again, that's one of the last question would be just that lower, just because you're in a lower risk area does not mean that you're not going to flood.
And John, let's go back to as you started out and make sure that we understand. So as we think about places that have a little bit more elbow room, like here on the show today, we talk about Tomball and we go north, Magnolia, all these places where someone might have a home and they might have a barn for their horses or a workshop. I know that's my dream. I want to have a workshop someday and a separate building and a 10-car garage. But all that said, if I have my home and then these extra structures, I may need flood insurance on these other structures as well as my home?
That's correct. So
wow.
With the National Flood Insurance Program particularly, they'll include a detached garage as part of the home. But if you have any other buildings on the property and you want coverage for them, they would need their own separate policy. So, for example, when you build your workshop and you would like to have flood coverage for the structure and the contents, you would need to have your own policy for that structure, for that workshop.
As always, so many things to keep in mind. That's why this is such a popular segment. And I hear that people actually take notes during this segment, John.
Absolutely do. We really do try to provide value for our clients and for our listeners. And that's why this is a good time prior to hurricane season to have that conversation with your insurance advisor. So let's take a look and see what the coverage I have. And have there been changes in my life or my family's life or where we live or how we live or what's happened in my neighborhood that would affect potentially the coverage that I would need? And that could be increased coverage or it could be decreased coverage. It's just a matter of having that conversation. And then if you don't have flood coverage, this is a great time to have that conversation to see if it might make sense.
That's right. And going back, is Stewart Insurance, you can help people with the national program, but also they can talk to the associates at Stewart Insurance about the separate companies that insure
Absolutely.
For flood as well, and they could find the difference out and the different pricing and so
Absolutely.
forth.
So based upon what our clients need, we may recommend flood coverage from the National Flood Insurance Program would be perfect. or there may be situations where we're going to recommend let's look at a private company and see if that coverage better meets your needs. So exactly, we can place our clients either place. It's just a matter of what makes sense for them.
And of course, we're flood conscious here in Houston. Those that have lived here for a while, and especially those who may have had a home or homes affected by Hurricane Harvey, like myself. So when it rains and I hear a thunderstorm, I'm a little more sensitive to it. But we think about that right here in Houston, Texas. But we know every now and then in the news, there's places that flood that you wouldn't think about.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the country. And it makes you think, wow, I wonder if they're, and of course, Stewart Insurance serves all of the United States, and that's a good reminder for people. But yeah, stuff happens all over the country.
Absolutely. We had really bad floods last year in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We had
Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Ruidoso. We had bad floods in San Antonio last year where they were, police cars were getting washed away off of I-10. So, I mean, it happens everywhere. So it's just a matter of how much risk you want to take on as an individual versus how much you want to offset onto an insurance company. And, we know that an inch of water can do $20,000 to $25,000 worth of damage to a home. So, I mean, that's a pretty easy number to take a look at. If I were to have $25,000 worth of damage to my home, could I cover that cost? Or am I better off offsetting some of that exposure onto an insurance company? Well, a couple of things. If you do want to be properly insured, and all that simply means is that you're covered in a way that makes sense for you at this point in your life. So whether you're a real estate broker, independent title and attorney agent, property management firm, a lender, or you're a family or an individual, if you understand the coverage you have and it makes sense for you or your business at this point in your life, then in our terms, you're properly insured. Where people get in trouble is they assume they have coverage and they don't, and then that's where they're surprised when a claim is denied. So that's the concern that comes across. So we want to make sure that people are aware and businesses are aware of what coverage they do and they don't have. And as long as you're comfortable with that, then in our eyes, you're properly insured. And as I said, we can do that both for families and individuals for their home, wind, auto, flood, motorcycle, their toys, investment property, and then on the business side, working with realtors, real estate brokers, independent title and attorney agents, lenders, and property management firms.
The key is to be properly insured, and they can do that by calling
866-798-2827. That's 866-798-2827. They can learn more about us at stewartinsurance.com or email us at stewartinsurance@stewart.com.
And the Texas A&M hotline is
866-798-2827.
The Tomball hotline is
866-798-2827.
Thank you so much, John Bramlett.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
Let's welcome back Amy Mason and Alex Wellbrock with the Tomball, the Greater Tomball Chamber of Commerce. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, here we are. As we wind up the show, wind it down, whatever you want to say, what else should we know, Amy?
Oh, goodness. We're just really are the hometown with a heart. We're very welcoming, and just come and check us out. Don't discount Tomball. It's just a really great place to live, work, and worship.
And reminding people, it is northwest
of
the city. And if you look at Houston like it's a clock with circles around it, it's northwest at about the maybe 10 o'clock position, would you say?
Right up 249.
Well, we are a great organization. We have about 850 members currently. And like I mentioned before, if you are anywhere in the Houston area, just get involved in whatever your local chamber is.
Accreditation.
Yes,
so there are 7,000 chambers in the United States.
Yes.
That's
Over
7,000.
7,000.
Over 7,000. So there's a number to digest.
Yes.
But the Tomball Chamber is one of 200 that are
accredited.
And what does that mean?
That just means we kind of have our ducks in a row. So we get looked out under 9 tenets. So our finances, our government affairs, our communications, just all these different things we get scrutinized over in a good way. It only makes you better. Iron sharpens iron. And so, we've reached the top spot of 5 stars. And it is a great company to be in. There's a lot of chambers around here that are 5 stars.
And within the chamber, how many people actually work there?
We have 5 employees.
And who is Bruce? You mentioned Bruce earlier.
Bruce Hillegeist is what we call Mr. Tomball. He has been there 30 years, president and CEO. He is a born and raised Tomballian.
Tomballian.
And so, he's kind of the beating heart of the chamber. And he's such a good leader that it just makes us want to do better for our community.
It makes us want to say hello to Bruce, doesn't it?
Hey,
Yes.
everybody
Hey,
wants to say
Bruce.
hi to Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Hey, Brandy. Brandy is also, she's the vice president. She's been there 24 years. Sorry, she will correct me on that. She's been there 24 years, and so they're kind of work wife and work husband. And they're raising us
Super
kids.
awesome. There you are. Well, it's exciting.
Yes, so give our office a call. Phone number is 281-351-7222, or y'all can visit our website at tomballchamber.org. 281-351-7222.
And Amy?
Yeah, check us out. We have, go watch our social media. We do like to have fun, but there's a lot of great information out there. We try to share tomballchamber.org.
Keller Williams Memorial.
Yes, Bill, thank you.
So,
Yeah, for
Genevieve,
having
here we
us out
are,
here.
closing the show down.
Well, one of the things I would like to say, just like you have the chambers and others, are a lot of the community organizations. We can't do what we do without that. So, Rotary clubs, the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo brings a lot of economic development, brings a lot of people to the city. Lots to do all around Houston. And again, if you're looking from an investment standpoint, it's a great city in which to invest, whether it's rental properties, renovations, or just to keep something in your coffers.
And when you're out there, let's take the buyer, for example. As you've been helping buyers around the Memorial area and beyond, how often are you running into a cash buyer?
Out of 10 transactions, I would say there are about 2 cash buyers for every 10 transactions. I know last year, cash transactions went down just a little bit overall, or they make up about 33% of the market.
And Genevieve, let's tell people how to reach you.
They can reach me again at 281-904-7014. Yeah, 281-904-7014.
Genevieve, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Kelly Henderson, coaching, helping buyers and sellers, so
Yes.
many things.
Yes.
How do you do it, Kelly?
You know what? It's my wheelhouse. It's my passion. I love paying it forward. I love teaching. I love guiding. I love watching agents be successful. So it's really not how do I do it? I love to do it. You know what?
Something new. 'Cause we're always looking for
My
new restaurants.
favorite place right now is Uchiko on Post Oak Boulevard.
I'm glad you said
Sushi.
that.
It is fabulous. Yes.
I've not heard of that.
My friend Ashley Wilson is the GM over there. Go give her a shout. It's really good.
Tell her Kelly sent you.
Yes.
Right here on
yes,
the radio.
Kelly sent me.
So in the meantime, back to real estate. So here you are.
You know
do you
what?
think?
I mean, interest rates are, and of course we haven't really talked about interest rates, but they're stable. And I work with a lot of expats. So I have a lot of people coming in from overseas, oil and gas. It's constant. I think Genevieve will agree with me that the business is good right now. The economy's good. It's strong. We're pushing forward.
And in your coaching world on the subject of social media, that could be several hours to talk about it, but just give us an idea or two what we should think about in terms of social media if we are a real estate professional, for example.
Well, if you are a real estate professional and you are not on social media, you are missing the boat. I always give this little quickie example. Facebook is the 40 to 50-year-old demographic. LinkedIn, that's the husband's Facebook. Most husbands don't want to be on Facebook, right? So they go to LinkedIn. You could make sure you're on LinkedIn. Instagram, that's my kids, right? 20s to 30s, younger. So you make sure that you're splashing yourself across all forms of social media. And it's free. Why wouldn't you?
Kelly Henderson, and let's tell people how to reach you.
Best way to reach me is at my phone, 713-724-3554. 713-724-3554.
Thank you, Kelly. And thank you all for listening to Real Estate Matters with Stuart Title. I am your host, Bill Knapik. I want to mention, too, this show has been put together in a very special way by our business development people. All of us, it's a team effort. But I want to mention from Tomball, you can go to Stewart.com. We have offices all over Houston. In fact, we're an international company traded on the New York Stock Exchange as STC. So we're all over the place. But right here in Houston, you want to close your real estate transaction, simply go to Stewart.com, find the closest office, connect with our business development people. And here today, 3 of our dynamic business development people, Becky Bohannon in Tomball. Look her up, Stewart.com, Tomball. It's incredible. In addition, Stewart in Fulshire, and Katie Stacy Tierheimer. That's right, Stewart.com. And of course, Kurt Jones in Memorial, Stewart.com. And of course, to see this show, that's right, you can see the cowboy hat that Alex had on, all the great outfits, by going to Stewart.com/radio. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.